Welcome to Bake to the Future. The wholesale baking industry mixes tradition and innovation to feed the world and the economy, generating some major dough while employing nearly 800,000 people in the U.S. We bring you a fresh take on the latest trends and issues impacting the baking sector through exclusive insights and conversations. Brought to you by the American Bakers Association, who will take you bake to the future.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Haley Blumenreich.
And I'm Katie Joel.
And today we are bringing you another special episode of Bake to the Future with Jim Antrup, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Tippin's Pies, based in Kansas City, Kansas. Tippin specializes in pies, but also makes croissants and other items such as dressings, soups, and more for both retail and food service operations.
And they are delicious. Talk about, baking happiness for people. And we're excited to have Jim on the show today to hear his perspectives of what has been going on at Tippin's with COVID-19. And specifically, we wanted to talk a lot about communications today, communications with employees and customers. So thank you for joining us today, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
We've heard a variety of answers to this first question that we've been asking. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm actually in my home office. So since I'm a sales guy, I have the luxury of working away from our manufacturing facility, and I have a home office. So I'm overlooking the street in my neighbor's house.
Okay, so in Kansas, in your home office. All right, well, that's good. It sounds like you're probably a little bit more comfortable than me and Haley. We've been hosting the shows from closets.
I've heard that.
I mean, it works out, hiding from the kids and as they're doing their homework and everything. So before we start, Tippin's has a lot of your customers are in food stores and food service. How has business been going since this crisis hit?
Probably the best way to characterize it is interesting. The majority of our business is supermarket related, in-store bakery, and then we have what we would class as food service, but a lot of that is also sold through our supermarket partners. We have some limited food service relationships. The distributors that we work with on the food service side of the business, their business is virtually non-existent. One of our major players supplies it has big contracts with casinos, and they're all closed. And so a lot of the items that we were selling to them have went to zero. Within the supermarkets, salad dressings, things like that, because salad bars are closed, have dropped significantly. We also make soups. Those have dropped significantly because of the self-service. So anything that's self-service has been impacted. On the bakery side, we actually have seen some of that as well, because we talk about croissants, and a big chunk of our croissant business is self-service. So again, self-service within most of the supermarkets has been closed down. So pie business has tended to hold, although as we see in the national numbers the last couple of weeks, we're seeing dessert sales start to drop in major double digits.
And when you say, have you ever thought that you would utter the phrase that one of your business lines has gone to zero?
No, not unless it was something we intended.
I think that's really interesting. We've been talking on Bake to the Future with other baking companies who do more staples. And so it's interesting to hear about your business, because since you do a lot of pies and indulgent items, I think it's interesting to hear how it's been a little different.
And why do you think then, Jim, that you're starting to see dessert sales go down in double digits? That seems extreme.
I don't know that we know the full answer, but the suspicions that we have to date, based on other people we've talked to, based on the limited amount of data we have, is that more people being home, more baking at home. And so, and all you have to do is look at Instagram or Facebook, and everybody's posting a cake that they baked for the first time, or a pie that they've made, or cinnamon rolls, or, just the list goes on as to the new home baking things. I mean, you also hear about shortages of flour and yeast in the supermarkets. And it's because more people are baking at home, learning new skills, or trying to find something new to do. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
That's really interesting. I know that's only something I've been seeing on my own social media feeds, so I think that's definitely true to some degree. So I was wondering, we talked a little bit before this about your communication with employees and also with your customers. So could you tell us first about how Tippin's has been engaging with employees during this time, given that there's been so much change?
Absolutely. And it's been interesting and challenging at the same time. We have multicultural people in our plant, so we have multiple languages to deal with, which always makes it a challenge, and we work hard to overcome that. And we typically had regular communication, but it wasn't like weekly or monthly or even quarterly. I mean, it was just more on an on-needed basis. We were having a celebration, and so somebody's birthday or somebody's anniversary, or something exciting had happened, so we take advantage of bringing the team together, and then you spend some time talking about something that was important in the business. But as this COVID-19 has kicked off, I don't know, I've kind of lost track of the time, but 6 weeks or so ago, we started, the first week that we went under lockdown here in the metro Kansas City area. We had a town hall with our team members on Friday, expressing to them how important what they were doing was, that, we were an important industry, critical infrastructure, and that we intended to continue to keep operating. We just stressed that we were learning as quickly as they were, and that we would continue to keep them updated. And so since that time, we've tried to have every Friday town hall, and those have changed, because the first one was all 50 team members standing around in one room. And so we've changed those to now that there's 2 or 3 or 4 of them throughout the plant, with smaller groups where we can maintain social distancing. And in addition, we do a weekly kind of a town hall recap, where we share a written piece of communication, where we share anything new. Last week, the new news was new CDC guidelines about potential symptoms, or that they'd added some symptoms. So that was important information to share with our team. But we always recap our written communication with how important our team members are, the importance that we see, their safety comes first, and their families. We also talk extensively about social distancing, sanitation, washing your hands, not touching your face. We just continue to reinforce the same message, but try to, and then when we do the in-person communication, we spend a lot of time on question and answers, and we have to do them through translation, to make sure that we cover all the languages, or cover English and Spanish. And our written communication goes out in English and Spanish.
Jim, what are some of the big questions that employees are asking? What are their biggest concerns?
I think the biggest concerns seem to be unaware or unknown. So it's that they're asking us questions that we're talking about. I have to think back on that. Early on, the questions were, and again, this was early on before the Congress passed the CARES Act. So, there was discussion about paid time off, and everybody was going to get, I don't remember, 2 weeks of sick time, and the government was going to pay for all of this stuff. So we had a lot of questions about that. And at that point, when those questions were coming up, we couldn't even. We just said, while there's discussion in the media about it, nothing's final yet. And even once they vote on a bill, we'll have to understand what applies and what doesn't. So a lot of unknown or unclear information in the media, and not the media's fault, but it just, there were lots of sources saying different things. And then, as we've had, unfortunately, we've had a couple of individuals in our facility that became ill. Fortunately, not with COVID-19, but that creates questions too, because we try to share as much information as possible, but we don't talk about the who, obviously from a HIPAA perspective. And we try to reassure everybody that, we're looking out for their safety. We started pre-screening as people come in, and talk to people every day about how they feel and things like that. So it's just, it continues to create questions.
Certainly. And I think that what you were saying earlier too about showing and telling your employees how appreciated they are is certainly something that we're working very hard on at ABA from a policy perspective and a legislative perspective, trying to get policies in place that will help that workforce realize how important they are, and make sure that they are made very well aware that they are appreciated and fundamental and essential. And I love hearing best practices and ideas from members of things that you're doing specifically to make sure that employees feel appreciated. Can you share any of those ideas with me?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things early on, again, a lot of this information was in the press, but there were shortages of toilet paper, there were shortages of hand sanitizer. We're fortunate that our parent company also owns food stores, supermarkets. And so we've had, on several occasions, we've had the luxury, I guess, of being able to hand out sanitizer, Clorox wipes, toilet paper. And that was very appreciative by our staff, our team members. We're very appreciative of those things.
I was also wondering, I know you mentioned some of your business has been unable to continue running because of different closures of self-service and things like that. Have you been able to keep all of your team members?
We have.
Okay.
We have, and as I think I mentioned on the food side, we have two separate facilities all under one roof. One is our USDA cook and chill facility, and then we have our bakery. But our team members are primarily cross-trained, so that if we need extra help in our kitchen facility, we can move a couple of people into the kitchen facility. If we need extra help in the bakery, we can move people to the bakery. So to date, we've been able to move those individuals out of our kitchen into the bakery and not miss a step.
Has that always been the case, or is that a recent development, or?
It's always been the case. It was a little more difficult until a couple of months ago. We moved into our new bakery facility, which is now adjoined to our kitchen. They used to be in separate facilities, separate buildings. We were only about a half a mile apart, but we're now under one roof. So that makes that facilitation much easier. It also makes our team member communication much easier.
How many team members are in that singular location now?
I'm going to say about 60.
Okay. And so it sounds like it was a good foresight to have everybody cross-trained so that, people, because I'd imagine you're probably running different shifts and things like that to try and mitigate spread of any potential illness.
We really haven't expanded shifts. But we're continuing to review that on a regular basis. So We have one main shift, but it is altered, so not everybody starts and stops at the same time.
Switching gears a little bit, could you tell us about how your communication has been going with your customers, given that you can't really have that face-to-face contact anymore?
Yeah, and again, being a sales guy, it's kind of difficult to be working from my home office 4 days or 5 days a week, and if I'm not in my home office, then I'm at my office at the plant. I'm used to being out, seeing customers, talking to customers. Obviously, this is a critical time of the year for us as we're getting ready. We're really planning heavily for the holiday time period, which seems like a long ways away, but it'll be here before we know it. So we've taken to using Zoom calls to try to get that face to face with our customers, and it's still not the same as having a face to face sitting across the desk from somebody or sharing a sample. But we're continuing to send out samples. We're continuing to have cuttings with our customers. We're just not present for them, and we're continuing to have significant conversations with customers over the phone and using Zoom communications.
So it sounds like you said, you guys are already starting to plan really for the fall and winter holidays from a planning perspective. Is there any sort of feeling that you're getting as to what the end of the year might bring?
At this stage, we really don't know. That we're very concerned about that because we just don't know what's going to happen next week, next month, next quarter. But we're continuing to talk to our customers, and there's a lot of unknown with our customers. Early on in the grocery shortages, or I shouldn't really say shortages because it really wasn't shortages, but the way
surge in demand.
The surge in demand. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah. But it was more about allocation of supplies going to some of our customers, and so that impacted distribution. That's pretty much leveled itself out, but there's so much unknown as to when salad bars will open back up. When how's that going to impact holiday pies? Will people have the large holiday celebrations come fall? I mean, we just don't know, and so we're planning. Looking at historical information, we're continuing to talk to our customers and planning with them. We still have the good thing is we still have potential new customers that we're working with on projects. So, business on one hand, it kind of feels like business has ground to a halt, but on the other hand, we're continuing to talk to potential new customers. I had a potential customer reach out for me today that we had a great conversation on. And it's like, that's great because things are still moving.
That is good to hear. And I know Tippin's too has a very, very strong connection to the Kansas City community. When you say Tippin's and anybody in Kansas City, they just become so happy that I know the folks who work at Tippin's, and that's great. Have you guys been working on any initiatives with the community during this crisis?
We've been very focused on, our local team members. We've and our owners are obviously very focused on taking care of their business, which has grown drastically over the last several weeks. So we've kind of played from a social media perspective, we've kind of taken a low profile. But we're trying to take care of business, take care of our team members, keep everybody safe, keep everything moving forward.
Yeah, that's something that I have heard with a lot of our bakers, that it's the priority is the employees and the team members that help keep you running, and making sure that they're cared for and safe and healthy, and shown how appreciated they are.
We did take advantage of some opportunities. I mentioned our food service business dwindling because of closed salad bars, and so we had a fair amount of fresh product in our distribution system that we had donated to local harvesters food bank, and then we've made some donations of product as well. But again, our main focus is really around taking care of our team members, and we, in some cases, we've donated products to our team members as well. So
that's great. I think it's really wonderful to be able to just use kind of what you have already to help others and make sure it's not wasted. So it's kind of twofold. So I know that we're still in the midst of this crisis, but could you share with us any lessons that you might take forward coming out of this?
I think, maybe one of the biggest lessons for us is to, use the resources that are available to us. And while we rely on, a lot of what we do or what we've always done, we've really taken advantage of organizations like ABA and the resources that you guys have acquainted us with TAG, and the seminars and the webinars that have been available to us. And so we've just taken advantage of a lot of resources that were probably always available, but we didn't pay as much attention to them. And we found it to be very helpful that the amount of information that we get, for instance, from ABA and the daily updates and here's some new information, and it just helps us make sure we're not missing anything. And so that's probably those daily emails come in, and they always have, and sometimes you're busy and you look at them and sometimes you don't. But I can tell you over the last 30 days, we've looked at every one of those because we want to make sure we're keeping first our team members safe. We want to make sure we're not missing anything from a regulatory standpoint or from a CDC standpoint. So we really appreciate the resources that folks like ABA are putting into helping us as a business.
Well, Jim, thank you. That is really kind. And I do want to point out that was completely unsolicited. We did not talk about that beforehand. So thank you so much for saying that. And I know I appreciate knowing that we're appreciated. And I want you to know that you are also appreciated as a member, as a company feeding your community, and still continuing to bring joy to folks. So with that, we're going to wrap up the conversation. Thank you again for joining us, Jim.
Thank you very much. And like I sort of said, thank you very much to ABA. You guys have been a big resource for us.
Thanks so much. And to everyone listening, just want to let you know that we have several special episodes on the baking industry and the coronavirus. So go to baketothefuture.org to find more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe to Bake to the Future wherever you listen to podcasts.
Bake to the Future is brought to you by the American Bakers Association in partnership with Human Factor. To hear upcoming and past episodes, go to baketothefuture.org. Bake to the Future is produced by Haley Blumenreich. Audio engineer is Blake Alphin. And A Slice of the Action is written by the American Bakers Association's Government Relations team.